All right, thank you, Lauren, for the introduction, and thank you very, very much for this opportunity to address this wonderful group of people today. My friends, my colleagues, and admirers of the urban forest, we have arrived. Tree planting has become a household term in many conversations across disciplines: conservation, public health, education, and even now, politics. In the last year alone, we have seen 3 significant pieces of legislation introduced in the House and Senate, starting with the Trees Act, then the Trillion Trees Act, and most recently, the Tree Act. And just yesterday, an executive order establishing the Trillion Trees Interagency Council was signed. But tree planting is nothing new for us, is it? Many of you joining us today have decades of beautiful images like these, showing communities engaged in the process of landscape restoration and rehabilitation through tree plantings. Tree planting is something we also do at the Nature Conservancy. This map shows the Nature Conservancy's cities network, of which I'm a part, which was established approximately 5.5 years ago and is composed of approximately 25 cities nationwide. The green dots on this map highlight where in the network we are doing urban tree canopy work, showing that a majority of our city's network programs include urban forestry work. But it is important to note that this work is done with a vast network of partner institutions and supporters. And as a matter of fact, I would invite anyone on this call who's done any tree planting with us or with our partners to please maybe give a shout out in the chat box, which would be great. So, tree planting is an important part of the urban forestry community's work, and given the political interest of late, we believe we will see an increase in tree plantings in the coming years for sure. One thing we do know is that trees provide optimal ecosystem services starting at around 30 years. This graph, provided by Dave Nowak from his presentation at the 2019 Partners Conference, highlights 2 things. First, that long-lived trees provide the greatest ecosystem services. Large, long-lived trees provide the greatest ecosystem services. And second, that these trees do so during the age range of about 30 to 60 years. That means that to ensure all of the new trees we plant provide an optimal return on our investments, we need to maintain and monitor them so that they reach this sweet older age. And that is the question that we are posing to all of you today. How will you track how your hundreds, thousands, millions, or even trillion trees are doing? How will you ensure that these trees reach maturity and that you optimize your ROI? Michelle, Rich, and I would like to help. So the 3 of us, and many others along the way, have been nurturing a growing initiative called Healthy Trees, Healthy Cities, which is a national stewardship and monitoring effort between the Nature Conservancy and the USDA Forest Service, established in 2014. We offer a suite of resources, and we are focused on 2 scales: the national application, which is for research and for monitoring, and then also a local application through community engagement and management. There are 3 main tools that we offer that we believe will help you ensure your trees thrive, which we will also talk about in greater detail later. We have a mobile device application, which is free and accessible on both Apple and Android devices. We have a web-based project management dashboard. And finally, we have a suite of training and educational resources designed to equip our community leaders in tree care with the information that they need to successfully monitor and manage trees. I want to highlight briefly the 2-fold scale that I mentioned just before, the local and the national. On the local level, we established this initiative to support volunteer stewards, prioritize management response, and advocate for stewardship resources. On the national level, the data collected through this initiative support research initiatives and also help track trends in tree decline. And one of the research initiatives that we are embarking on now is an investigation of the relationship between tree stewardship and tree health. My friends, essentially, we want to know if trees really live longer, more prosperous lives when they are stewarded. Some of you may be familiar with publications highlighting the relationship between stewardship and mortality. We are seeking to complement that work with an exploration of the ways tree stewardship activities, like mulching, like our friend Dr. Spock is about to do here, watering, etc., can impact tree health over time. So please consider this a presentation as an effort to share new information for some of you, updates and additional insights for our current supporters on this call, but above all else, an invitation to join us in this exploration of stewardship and tree health. And so, to that end, we have structured this presentation into 3 pieces. First, Michelle will highlight her research in the science of stewardship. Next, Rich will offer an example of his work engaging the civic ecology community in tree health monitoring, and he'll also offer a closer look at the non-stressor specific tree health protocol he developed that's featured in the Healthy Trees app. And finally, I will provide a brief overview of some of the tools I mentioned, and I will offer some case studies that highlight how these tools are put into action. So without further ado, I will turn it over to my colleague, Michelle. Excellent. Thank you so much, Rich. I really appreciate all of the work that you've done. And before I go any further with my comments, I really want to take a moment and pause and just reflect on the public-private partnership that we have had through the Nature Conservancy and the Forest Service. There are a host of people on this call right now that have made that partnership particularly effective and successful, but I just want to thank all of those folks, Lauren Marshall, I see Phil Rodbell, Sarah Hines. There are so many of you that have worked tirelessly to help support our work and believe in the work we do. And I also just want to take a moment and reflect on just the ability to work with these 2 amazing scientists that we have in Michelle and Rich, and just the work that they've devoted to not only advancing urban forestry, but advancing the goals of the Nature Conservancy's work as well. And so I don't want to go any further before I say thank you. And it really does feel like a family effort. And somebody did remark on Rich's getting his family involved in the chat box. And I wanted to take a moment and recognize Rich's partner, Dr. Mary Aaronworth, who is actually on this presentation with us today. She is an outstanding scholar in education, and her insights have actually helped us really shape and change the way that we have done training to be much more impactful. So I want to give a huge thank you to her, and then also just want to recognize that Rich's daughter, Lauren, is also joining us today. So, you know, we do believe in this work, but more importantly, we believe that engaging as many people as possible and really leveraging the unique gifts that each individual brings to the table to ensure that we all collectively work to keep our trees healthy. That is what we're about. So, again, huge thank you to everybody, and moving right into what it is that we are trying to do with our time here today. So, thus far, Michelle has shared with you insights into stewardship. She has talked about a particularly effective tool, StewMap, that some of you may have heard about. We also heard Rich talking about a particular case study in Wisconsin where he was able to identify how effective our training is. And one thing I want to point out, one of the things I really appreciate about both Rich and Michelle's approach to training is when we do those sorts of assessments, whether it's quality QA/QC or quality control check of the data, it's less about how effective the volunteers are gathering the data and more about how effective we are in our training. And that's where these, you know, having Dr. Aaronworth's support, and as well as just really being intentional about how we train people, comes into play. And so what I'd like to do now is just share with you how we've applied some of these tools. And then what I'm going to do, actually in my comments, I'm going to sort of separate my comments into 2 parts. First, I'll share a quick overview of some of the Healthy Trees, Healthy Cities tools that are available that have been referenced throughout the talk today, but I want to just share some screenshots and give you a little sneak peek into what you might be able to use for some of your work. And then I also want to share some case studies for how the tools are currently being used right now as we speak. And one word to note, this initiative really, as Rich pointed out, really did come from this need to identify trends in tree mortality and especially decline overspace and over time so that we can identify the next worst thing before we know what it is. But I also want to highlight the fact that we also recognize the utility in these tools to help support you in your tree planting and tree monitoring work over time. So what I'd like to do is, as I said, start out with just an overview of some of the tools. And I will start with our smartphone application, or I should say mobile device application, because you can also use this tool on a tablet. And there's two main points here. The first of which is that the app is available for free, and it's a relatively small size if you're concerned about storage. It's very easy to download, and it's available through the App Store as well as Google Play, which means it's available on Apple and Android devices. Excuse me. And I just wanted to highlight the contributors on the left side of the screen here, which includes Chuck Bargeron of the University of Georgia. Many of you may know EdMaps or the Bugwood tools. He is the developer and the mastermind behind the tool and the technology. We also had significant contribution from Davey. We're very grateful for that. And then, of course, the Forest Service and several people throughout the Nature Conservancy over time. The app itself serves three purposes, the first of which is for data collection. The second is for education. So through the app, there are a variety of resources and tools that are meant to be used while you are using the app, but also just to help inform your understanding of tree care and tree management. And then finally, we see this app as a connector. It's a way to connect to trees in your community on a more individual level. It's a way to connect to others that are doing stewardship and monitoring work. And then finally, it's also a way to connect to tree care workers. So there are 4 modules on the app. The first is tree care or tree stewardship, and that is the protocol that Rich shared with you. The second is, tree stewardship. I misspoke. So that is an effort to document tree stewardship efforts. The second is our health check, which is, as I said, the protocol that Rich just shared with you. The third is an insect or disease detection module that allows you to document the signs and symptoms of insects and diseases that you see on your tree. And then finally, a basic rudimentary tree inventory feature that collects the minimum data set with some additional variables. And one thing I also really want to highlight is that we offer access to the International Society of Arboriculture's Find an Arborist service. And we did this especially on the homepage because while we do believe that it's managing our urban canopy is a sort of all hands on deck need, we also recognize that there is a time and place to call in experts who can really support your tree, especially in times of more professional needs. So moving forward, I just wanted to offer a closer look at some of these modules, which include stewardship. So this is the stewardship data collection interface. You'll see it's fairly simple. It offers 2 main variables, the first of which is, well, the minimum data set. So you've got your tree name, species, location, DBH. But then it also offers a pull-down menu of activities that you can document. And it also allows you to document the number of minutes that you spend on a particular activity. And for some of you that, excuse me, are required to document the time volunteers or even professionals spend, perhaps for grant applications or grant reports, this is designed to support you in that effort. Also showing you the interface for the health check. You'll see that it's primarily radial buttons, very simple. Also, you have the minimum data set up at top. And then to support those that are actually collecting the data in the field, we have a variety of resources that are accessible, as I said, through the app. So for example, for all of the individual variables collected through any of the modules, there is an I button for information that takes you directly to an informational page that offers additional guidance on what we are expecting or what we're hoping people will look for and gather for that particular variable. And then there's also a suite of resources in the form of PowerPoint presentations, short videos, and documents that are available through the menu icon in the top left of the screen. Second, I'd like to talk to you about our project management dashboard, which serves actually 4 purposes. The first of which is project management. So if you are managing volunteers or even paid professionals or interns who are gathering tree health data, you can manage your volunteers as well as the data via this web-based project management dashboard. And actually, I'm just seeing in the chat that the app is totally free, as is the dashboard. I neglected to mention that, but I do absolutely want to emphasize that it is free and totally available because we have been using federal funds to produce these instruments and tools. The second aspect of the dashboard, or the second purpose of the dashboard, is data visualization. The third is reporting of the data. And then finally, the dashboard offers you the opportunity and the ability to prioritize management response for those trees that are in highest need. The dashboard offers, as I said, data visualization. So you're able to zoom in and then locate each individual tree, and you're able to pull up specific details about each tree. And then the third tool that I want to share with you are our training resources in and of themselves. So we offer an array of training materials and resources that are designed to complement and support your planting, stewardship, and monitoring training programs. So this includes a series of tree health monitoring videos that we just completed this fall and that are available on the Forest Service YouTube channel, which you'll see here. And then we also have a Healthy Trees, Healthy Cities website that offers a variety of resources, information, updates, as well as a resource library, which we've just updated to include our videos. So now that I've shared with you a very brief overview of the tools and resources that we have available, again for free, we want to share with you a few case studies of where these tools are being used currently. And just a friendly correction, we've actually been in 16 cities thus far since we began this work together in 2014. And we've chosen to highlight 2 particular case studies, but if any of you have used any of these tools, I invite you to speak up in the chat and give a shout out. So before I get into these case studies, I just wanted to pause and offer a reflection on tree health and equity. So many of us are now reevaluating our urban forestry goals, approaches, and strategies to achieve more equitable access to nature for all people in the communities in which we're working. In these 2 particular case studies, we're considering the quality of urban forest canopy in addition to the quantity, because we really believe that healthier trees are in a better position to provide ecosystem services. So in both of these cases, we're gathering information to help us understand better what these trees may need from us in order to be able to provide for us. So first, I'd like to take you to New York City, and a special shout out to Danielle Getz, who I know is working in New York City, and those others who are also in the city. The Nature Conservancy, the Forest Service, the New York City Housing Authority, also called NYCHA, and Green City Forest are partnering to do a 2-phase assessment of trees on NYCHA campuses. Green City Forest staff are currently engaged in phase 1, where they are using the app to inventory trees and also conduct insect and disease assessments of the trees on several campuses in 3 neighborhoods. So by the end of their 6-week session, they anticipate monitoring approximately 5,000 trees, which is incredibly impressive. And they are out there right now, so for those that end up listening to this on the team, very special shout out to Green City Forest and all the hard work that they are doing. So in phase 2, which we anticipate will begin in the spring and summer of 2021, Green City Forest staff will then go back and evaluate the same trees using Rich's tree health monitoring protocol. And these 2 sets of information, which are complementary, will allow us to identify if there are any signs or symptoms of insects or diseases that we know of. And the protocol actually looks at about 15 known insects and diseases with enough sort of generic signs and symptoms that one can document for those insects that we maybe don't know of yet. So the insect disease data set, in collaboration with the tree health data set, are designed to give a more complete picture to managers so that, again, management response can be prioritized for those trees that are in greatest need. Next, I'd like to share the second case study with you briefly, which is our Imani Green Health Advocates Program in Chicago. So this is a collaboration among many, many different partners across many disciplines, including Trinity United Church of Christ. We're working with Advocate Aurora Trinity Hospital, working with the Forest Service, obviously, TNC, Morton Arboretum, as well as the University of Illinois at Chicago. And through this program, we have a team of young people who are gathering data in Chicago's South Side neighborhoods to understand a little bit more about how the health of landscapes can impact the social and ecological determinants of health. And so the advocates just completed their data collection last week, and they're right now working with the data to prepare a report. And I want to give a special shout out, actually, to last year's advocate crew in 2019, whose data was actually featured and included in Advocate Aurora's Trinity Hospital's Community Health Needs Assessment, which is done every other year. And our hope is that more hospitals like Trinity will begin to incorporate more detailed tree health information into the needs assessments and similar documents and reports. So our point, folks, is that we would like you to be next. We would like to feature the work that you are doing and support your work. And so we're inviting you to join this movement. There's two quick ways and simple ways that you can do that right off the bat. One is to join us again in spring for a webinar that we are hoping to host, or that we plan to host, which will offer an update on our work as well as some new tools. So currently we are working on a school curriculum, working with the protocols as well as the series of videos that was just completed. And then also, we invite you to please reach out to us for support. So we are there to help you with support for training, experimental design, even just walk you through these ideas and help you work towards a monitoring effort for yourself. We truly mean that. It is a sincere offer. We welcome you to reach out, so please take advantage of us. And also, in conclusion, number one, tree planting is here to stay, folks. We're doing it now. We're going to do it even more as more and more public interest, political interest is growing. We anticipate even more tree plantings happening. So we want to support your efforts. The second thing that we know now that mature trees provide optimal ecosystem services. We also know that stewardship benefits not only nature, but also people. And in order to help our trees help us, monitoring is key. Also, community scientists are truly the future of urban forestry. And then finally, your data can support scientific advancements in urban forestry. So with that, our presentation has drawn to a close. On behalf of Rich, Michelle, and I, we want to thank you for joining us today. We're super grateful for all of you for your time and for all your efforts that you do to support our city's trees and forests nationwide. So we welcome your questions. There have been several that have come in on the chat, and we're very thankful for that. We look forward to answering them. I am going to turn it back over to Lauren for moderation of the questions.